combine small town roots with business savvy, and you've got the Rural Rundown podcast. We're sharing our marketing and branding strategies, tips, and tricks that rural businesses can use to educate, inspire, and entertain their customers, and to help you make sales and hit profit goals. So what does it take to go from your mom is your only fan to famous in a small town? Tune in and listen up as we feature business owners and organizations that are doing big things in their community and creating opportunities for generations to come.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Rural Rundown. I'm here with Brenna Ramsden. And where are you, Brenna, right now in the world?
Right now, I am in Philip, South Dakota. If anybody knows where Philip is, just outside of Wall. Spent some time in the Black Hills over the last week. It's been a whole week since I've been here. That's crazy.
Oh, fun. Nice to be back in your journalism roots.
yeah, it's kind of weird being back here. This is where I started TV, was in Rapid City, and actually yesterday I picked up a copy of the Cattle Journal by the Tri-State Livestock News, and I was like, oh yeah, I had a story in here. So it's fun to be back around the people that have like the same mindsets and the same values that I do, and people that I've interacted with for so long. So yeah, it's really nice to be around here.
Love it. That's awesome. So today we're going to be talking about marketing trends for 2021. I was listening to a Clubhouse room a couple weeks ago, and this was the topic. And I can't remember what the room was called or anything like that, but I did take notes. And we kind of categorized those notes into 5 different pillars: audio, video, text marketing, some other platforms to maybe be thinking about, and then kind of talking about sharing others' content on your own platform. So we are going to jump into each of those pillars and kind of start a conversation around them. So the first one we're going to talk about is audio. Brenna, do you have any initial thoughts for audio?
I love audio, and I think for a while it's been at the forefront of what's going on with podcasts becoming more and more popular. I think with 2020 podcasts became even more popular, and we looked for different ways to kind of connect with each other, and for different businesses to connect with consumers as well. I think that's where we saw the birth of Clubhouse as well. And so yeah, I think audio is important and something new maybe for a lot of people who aren't podcast lovers or haven't listened to a podcast before. It might be something new that they're doing, even just to get educational value out of it in 2021. So yeah, definitely think that they are very valuable marketing tools to have in your tool belt.
Yeah, for sure. So when we were talking about starting a podcast in December, I had sent you an article that was just like, podcasts are going to blow up in 2021. That was the kind of the prediction. And I would say, just from people I follow, like on Instagram and influencers, I'm seeing people come out with podcasts left and right. And I mean, we launched a podcast. I actually pulled a stat. Apple Podcasts hosts 1.96 million podcasts as of March 2021. And compare that to 2018, there were 550,000 active podcasts. So you can really see there's been a big trend growing. And I think people really like the audio side of learning, like you said, learning, education, entertainment. You can put, have your phone on speaker, put it in earbuds, and you can also like not be looking at your screen. And I think people are kind of appreciating that, especially in this last kind of year where we all felt more at home, probably spend a lot more time on screens. Maybe we're getting a little bit of that fatigue. And you can kind of, they say don't multitask, but it is a way to do something. Well, if you're doing tasks at home or driving, you're able to learn and get some value out of it. One of the things that I wanted to mention is, how does this apply to some of the businesses we might work with? How, if they're interested in starting a podcast, where do they start, or what should they do? So an example I thought of, like, let's say you're a landscaping company and you're like, oh, sure, I could start a podcast. What am I going to talk about every single day? Well, you obviously do have expertise and things to share, but I think another thing businesses can do is think about their greater mission. What are some conversations you can have around that? Can you talk to other companies that are within your, what you do, they kind of partner, can also share their expertise, their stories. How can you include others and something bigger than, oh, this is just what I do. This isn't something I could talk about every single day. So I don't know if you have anything else to add on that, Brenna, but that was something I thought maybe could apply to our listeners and how they could think about using audio for themselves.
I think podcasts are so interesting, especially for people who might have been really big radio listeners. I kind of reflect back on being in high school and listening to the radio while milking cows or being in the tractor or doing stuff like that. And podcasts, I think, have kind of like flipped the script because there's no gatekeeper. You don't have to, nobody has to say, okay, now you can start a podcast. You can start a podcast, which is essentially your very own radio show. If you want to spend an hour and you want to have a weekly or a daily podcast and you want to spend an hour playing music, talking about news, doing whatever, you can do that. It's so cool to think about what we can do now versus what we were able to accomplish even 10 to 20 years ago. 10 years ago, podcasts were not really a thing. And, it was probably about 10 years ago that we look at, smartphones just started coming out. And we think about like what the Apple interface looked like at that point. And it's so cool to kind of see where it's come and what it's done. I mean, even in 2 years, you said that statistic from 2018 to 2021, I guess, so about 3 years. To see how this growth has happened is very interesting. So my advice would be to anybody who thinks like, oh, maybe a podcast would be fun, or maybe people would want to like listen to this, just start it. Go ahead and start it. Do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Heck, it doesn't even have to be good. If it brings you joy and you like putting it out every week, then go ahead and do it, because I think it's just one of those things where it's like, if we can grab a hold of this, again, marketing tool in our tool belt and put it to use, why not?
Beautifully said, Brenna. I love that. Yes, I 100% agree. Okay, I think that kind of rounds out the audio category. We did briefly touch on Clubhouse if you're not on it. Brenna, maybe do you want to give a little background of what that is?
Yeah, I do, because I am loving Clubhouse. So currently it's an app that's only available on iPhone, and there's no like timeline of when it might be available on Android. So I'm not really sure what that looks like. Essentially, if you are a podcast listener, I think you would be really interested in Clubhouse, because basically it's just a room full of people. They're called rooms, and you can go in and have this conversation with people from across the world and be talking about the same topic. I've really enjoyed Clubhouse because I feel like it's put me into rooms with people who have much more knowledge, much more success on topics, and I can really glean some information from them. But then there's other times where I feel like I have something to add to the conversation, so I can go ahead and jump in there. I was listening to a Clubhouse room while I was driving the other day, and it was with a few cattle ranchers. The man who was leading the room was from Iowa. There was a couple of guys from Nebraska, and a few guys from Illinois. And this is a very interesting topic, but we were all talking about manure, and it's kind of started from a article that was in the No-Till magazine that came out for April. And it was just talking about different ways that people are using manure and how different guys are kind of like using this resource for fertilizer, as we look at more regulations coming down from government. So it was a crazy interesting topic. And it was funny because there was so many times that I wanted to I wanted to call my dad, I wanted to call a friend and be like, this is such an interesting conversation. You have to jump in on this. So anybody that has Clubhouse, you can ping them into rooms if you feel like, oh, they would totally love this conversation. You can invite your friends in. And it's this whole system of like, there's a moderator and they get to kind of like lead the conversation, but it always kind of spurs off in different directions. And if you are in the audience just listening, you don't have the capability to like jump in and speak up. If you want to join the table, you have to raise your hand and the moderator will accept that and let you up, so you have a microphone capabilities to join the conversation. But I have seen I've gotten a few clients through Clubhouse. I have made connections with other podcasters through Clubhouse. Excuse me. I have made connections with other agriculturists through Clubhouse. And it's been really cool to have these conversations with people that you've never met before surrounding a topic that you might even just have a little bit of interest in. I find myself in a lot of agriculture rooms, and there's people from Argentina, or there was somebody from like South Africa in there one time, and they join in the conversation and they're like, I'm just here to learn today. Like, I have this thought about animal agriculture, and I'm just here to kind of listen and hear what you guys have to say about it. And so Clubhouse is a super cool place. That's my opinion on Clubhouse. I'm trying to sell everybody on it.
Yeah, Clubhouse is cool. The one thing I like about it is I have found a couple rooms where I'm like, oh, that was really valuable. And a couple others that I joined that I'm like, oh, this isn't quite for me, but I'm glad I tried it. And I think it's just growing, and there's a lot more, even from the time you've invited me in there, which was probably only a couple months ago. I feel like I see even more different topics coming about, different, like you said, really niche, like agriculture or boutique or mental health, just really cool different things that people might have an interest in and could hear from someone else. And I have a couple invites, so if anybody wants one, message me because I can give you one if you got
Yeah,
an
I have invites too, so I would love to like spread the Clubhouse love.
Yes, I like it. And I think there's also a lot of opportunity. I haven't done it yet, but I think you have, Brenna, where you've hosted a couple rooms, or as a business, you could host a room and kind of bring people in. And I think that's another really big opportunity for people coming here in the future to share their knowledge, possibly get clients, or just, get information from other people that would be valuable to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Clubhouse. Again, if you are a podcast listener and you've ever had that moment where you're like, oh, I would love to like add to this conversation or ask somebody a question who is leading the conversation, Clubhouse is definitely something that you might want to consider trying out. And as we talk about audio, I think this is a perfect time to transition into video and talk about how you can use video in your business.
Yes. So if you guys didn't see this one coming, we've talked about it in the past. The first topic we're going to dive into is TikTok. So what's going on with TikTok? I pulled a couple stats here too. So Brenna, maybe first, if people don't know what it is, do you want to just kind of give them an overview, and then I'll share those stats?
Yeah, TikTok is a video platform. Now, if anybody remembers Vine from the day, Vine, that's kind of like, seems like it was like the inception of TikTok. And if I remember right, one of the creators of Vine had a stake in TikTok for a while. So it's kind of transition there, but they're very short form videos. So the longest is 60 seconds. And we've seen this transition because Oli actually used to frequent the app when it was called Musically. And I remember the day that he was like, wait, it changed its name. The app is new and it's called TikTok now. Like, this is so weird. And back then it was kind of just like, it was very like theatrical, and it was people who were really good at video editing or who had an interest in video editing. So it was all about like pairing together these sounds that are live on the app, and then putting your thoughts, ideas, videos, movements, whatever to the sounds. So that's kind of how the app started. Well, TikTok saw a major boom in 2020 when everybody was stuck home, and saw a large jump from the age of users from being like 18 to 20 to now spanning upwards of 60 years old. There's a few TikTokers I see that are like grandmas, and they show off their outfits of the day on their porch, and they're so fun to watch. So yeah, TikTok is a video platform, short form video. It's a lot of the younger crowd. Obviously, it's people who can kind of edit together some video. A ton of users are just there just to consume content. So it's a platform where if you can put some content out there that really attracts the eye of people, you can blow up really fast and go viral. People are going viral on TikTok for the songs that they're writing or for the art that they're creating, and just literally just going viral and going crazy, and people are getting record deals off of TikTok. So it's an app that is small, like the concept is so small, but the other thing TikTok does really well is create a really tight community. People on TikTok want to share the love. They want to be engaging. People want to comment on your videos all the time. They want to share them, like them. So yeah, TikTok is a very tight-knit community, a very good way to engage customers if you're a business and you want to get on TikTok. It's also a little bit of a time suck because it's very entertaining if you get on there and you're just watching and scrolling. So that's a lot about a little app called TikTok.
Yeah, well, this actually pairs perfectly into what I was going to say, what you just said about being a time suck. The average user spends 52 minutes per day on TikTok. And I also read a stat, I didn't write it down, but I think it was 90% of users are on the app multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing too is, like you said, the growth. In less than 18 months, the number of US adult TikTok users grew 5.5 times. So the key there is that's adult. So if you're thinking TikTok is just for kids, like you said, that's actually not true. And the number of, I think millennial age, what is it,
Gen Z is below us.
Yeah, what's the one between Gen Z and
Gen X?
Maybe? They're growing. That's all I'm trying to say. And I was listening to apply it to you as a business, if you're thinking this is something maybe you want to try. I was listening to a Skillshare class, and the way they broke down the different types of like things that are happening on TikTok, I thought was super helpful. So of course there's like the dancing. I'm not telling you to do a dance. If you want to, go ahead. But that's just one category. There's also like humor voiceover. So maybe you've seen TikTok videos where people are like mouthing to a popular like comedian's joke, or a funny saying, or an inspirational saying even. And then there's trends, just the trends that everybody's like copying. So something goes viral and then you're like repeating that exact same thing using the same song or the same voiceover, but then making it your own, branded to your own business or your own theme. And the one thing I like about this one is, if you're familiar with like PR and the way advertising and marketing has always been around, there's the term newsjacking. So I almost think like the trends on TikTok is the new form of newsjacking. You're just finding what's popular, taking that content and repurposing it for your own. It's just the new way to do that. So I feel like hopefully that kind of helps bridge some connections for people who understand that part of it and how that translates to this platform. And then the one that I think is going to be the most helpful category for people who are just want to try it and maybe trying to figure out how it would work for them would be the educational platform of TikTok. That has really, really grown. And with the educational part of it, you don't have to like feel like you're being cheesy or dancing if that's not you. You can just talk about those tips, those tricks that that maybe you don't even realize are expertise, but it is when you put it out there, and people would be blown away by what you have to share. So I feel like, I hope me breaking down those categories kind of maybe gives you a spot where you think you might fit, or could give you a good starting point to give it a shot.
Yeah. I have a personal TikTok story because I think I told you about this, but I wasn't sure. So I have like 5, maybe 6 videos on TikTok. 2 of them for sure are travel videos. One is strictly a slow motion video of me spinning around because I bought this new coat and I felt fancy. So that's 3 of the videos that are on TikTok. The other 3, one is like a day in the life when we lived in the trailer. One that I posted, again, like I don't use TikTok a whole lot. I've seen people say it can be really good for business. I follow other graphic designers and brand designers and kind of what they post. So as I was exporting a client's brand guide and all of their file types one night, I was like, oh, I'll just film a little bit of this and put it on TikTok. When I filmed this, I think I had 44 TikTok followers. I think it was like around 44. I posted this video 3 weeks ago about. Since I've posted it, I've had more than 25,000 views on that video. I have over 600 TikTok followers now, and I booked 10 meetings from that TikTok video with clients, like consults. And they're like, and I have loads of comments. I don't know how many comments are there, but so many people are like, wow, like I didn't know this is what it all entails, or like, oh, I think I need to hire you for my business, or like just loads of comments. Like I said, people really just want to engage with the content they're seeing, especially if it's something like that where I thought it was just a logo. I thought businesses just need a logo, and then they see this and they're like, oh, you deliver full suites to people? That's a thing? That's how we're running business now? Okay. So yeah, TikTok, like I said, like I had 6 videos. None of them are really anything great. Even when I posted, I genuinely did not expect, I don't think I expected anyone to really see it. Obviously, like my hopes were high, like, I think this is good content, but yeah, it kind of blew up. So that's kind of wild. My second TikTok story is that my sister, who is 22, who, sorry, Katie, but doesn't really do much on TikTok in terms of like education or like she probably is leaning towards that entertainment value a little bit more. But she doesn't post a ton. She has 23,000 TikTok followers, and she is one of the users who has been there since it was called Musical.ly. So she's been on TikTok for years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty wild for a kid who grew up in a town of 800 and graduated with a class of 24.
Yeah, wow, that is nuts. The final thing I wanted to say on TikTok is the thing that I think I like about it for people who maybe can't afford to hire videographers and spend a ton of money on that is this: you don't have to be a master editor to use it. TikTok has the ability to help you edit the way you want those things to come together. And I think it's accessible. So maybe you can't right now do that or afford someone else to do it for you. This would be a good start. Just tip your toe in the water and feel like you can do it in a professional way. So
I think video is so important now too. And I don't know if we talk about this anymore, but video is one of the number one ways that customers are deciding if they like a product or not. I just posted on Instagram yesterday, my statistic was something about 93% of customers decide if they're going to buy a product based on a video from the brand. People also, like 80% of customers say that they find out about new products through video. So video is incredibly important. And we think, again, there's no gatekeeper on any of this stuff. You can start a YouTube channel. You can create a commercial, a 30-second commercial that you might have placed in traditional marketing, might have placed that in TV. Now you can place it on YouTube videos. You can place it on social media just to run alone as a single advertisement. You can, use it in your Instagram, in the IGTV, or in the Reels category. If we want to talk about Reels, they're just really similar to TikTok. They're just inside of the Instagram platform. Again, all of that editing stuff is right there for you. You never have to use another app to help you with the audio or video portion of these. Video, if you're not using video in your business yet, that is one place I urge you to start doing. And like Rachel said, just use your phone. Think about what you want to say, set it up, record yourself. You can always edit it, cut it out, or hire somebody to do that if that's not your thing. There are people available on Fiverr for very low amounts of money to edit your videos. So you have to be getting on video. That's like the number one way to connect with people right now, for them to see you and hear your voice and hear about your product.
Yep. 100%. I mean, that's the main focus that I do with my clients. It's all video. And I think sometimes they're probably like, I don't want to do another video, but they see the benefit of it.
Mhm.
And especially, over that time, people start recognizing them. And also, I just want to give you hope. If you're like, I'm going to be terrible on video, I'm not good at this. Nobody starts out good. I
Mhm.
can vouch for this. I've worked with like, I don't know, 30 clients, and I can tell you that everybody starts off kind of, it's a starting point, and they all get better. They get more comfortable with it. And it's just like, I feel like I say this every episode. It's like a muscle you got to keep working and flexing, and it'll get stronger. And I think I already said this, but if it's repetitive, that face, them seeing your face, hearing you talk, it's building that trust. They feel like they know you before they even walk in your door or pick up the phone to call you.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
within video, these are kind of just a couple like ideas that trends that I heard in that chat that I agree with and I think are really cool. The first one is thinking about launching a course. And I think sometimes when we think like launching a course, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to have this big platform and I'm gonna have to pay for it, and it's gonna have to be this fancy website. It doesn't have to be that. Let's make it really simple. All you need is YouTube, which is free, and then you send people links to whatever your course module is. They can just access that video, or it's in written form. I think we sometimes complicate things too much. With a course, it could just be something that educates your customer that they could sign up for, either like a lead gen for free or they could pay for it. So I think sometimes you have to sit down and think about what can I offer my ideal customer that would help them, and also introduce them to me and my services and how we can help them. Brenna, I know you've talked to me about courses for your business before, but do you have anything you want to say here?
I think again with 2020, we're living in a post-pandemic world where people are taking education into their own hands. Again, people are really starting to find out there is no gatekeeper. You don't have to, and I'm not saying that I like disagree with college, but you don't have to go to college and pay thousands and thousands of dollars to sit in classrooms and learn things. Obviously, if you're going into a professional job like an agency or something like that, or if you decide that you need to work for a company, a lot of those places require you to have a degree, right? But if you are already a business owner running your business and you're deciding like, man, I love what Rachel and Brenna were just saying about Clubhouse, and I think I could really use Clubhouse in my business. Guess what? There's probably a course for that, and you can go and pay $50 and take somebody's course on how to use Clubhouse and really like leverage it and use it to your benefit. You don't have to go to school to learn how to do these things, right? And again, there's no gatekeepers. We can set ourselves up for this education, and we can position ourselves as teachers and leaders in our industries as well, and nobody has to approve it or deny it or say anything. So all of this today, I think, really comes down to just kind of like owning your business and owning your craft, and kind of like stepping into some of these marketing platforms to really get your name out there and get your business out there.
Yep. A couple examples that I wrote down just to share. When I say courses, maybe it doesn't make sense, or how could it apply to a business that's not already inherently educational. So for example, I work with some boutique retail shops. Maybe they would launch a course that's like building the perfect wardrobe, or a style challenge, something somebody could opt in, and there would be, like a few different classes or topics that they could learn about. Another example would be I work with some sleep health professionals. So maybe they would build out a course that's called Building Better Sleep Habits in 30 Days or something like that. And we could build out something helpful, tools that people could use that kind of guides them and shows them, oh, these are the people this came from, and that benefits your business because you're the expert that they went to, and that's a touch they have with you that's really personalized. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on courses.
I think that we're like veering off the video topic a little bit. Obviously a lot of people learn better when they can like see you and you can show them what you're talking about. That's what makes, you know, being in an in-person class easier than doing a virtual class, right? But if we can show up on video, then it seems like you're in people's homes teaching them the exact same thing. But it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to have video in your course. For example, I created a course book. Actually, now I'm going to start calling it a course book after this conversation. I currently call it a workbook, and you walk through how to start building the foundation of your brand. But I can call it a course book. People can understand it a little bit better. And they're like, oh, okay, like this is something I walk through on myself. So it could be a book or a worksheet or a guide that you offer somebody. You could also set up your courses to be drip content through email marketing or text marketing, right? So if you have some content, if you wrote a blog and you maybe have a video there embedded in that blog, and each day somebody is signed up for your 5-day course, each day you're going to text them or email them a link with a little bit about what today's lesson is, and then they can go ahead and watch it themselves. Or if it's just a written thing and you're going to talk through it, same thing. Send them a link each day and they can go through it day by day, and they feel like now they've taken a 5-day course on your masterclass about building a capsule wardrobe, or maybe you're teaching them about different fertilizer practices, or maybe you're talking to them about home gardening and how they can take that and turn it into some canning practices they can use in their home. There are so many different ways that you can go about this course thing, and just offer some people a little bit of information about what you do and what you offer, and how you can kind of help them.
Yep. I think, like you said, having that combination of both maybe text and video on different things is perfect for a lot of people. And the last thing in the video category, this is just a really brief one. People, and I think this is kind of a marketing strategy, a tactic that people use a lot. You'll see it is the nostalgia factor. So kind of how can you really hit on people's hearts? One of the things I like to think about with that is like, people love their grandparents. Is there, you know, like what about your grandparents is it that like brings you in and makes you smile, or that generation? So maybe we're thinking generationally for nostalgia, or movies, or books that people loved, or quotes, you know, things that bring people back to that time in their life, their childhood. Another part of that nostalgia, I think too, is when we're thinking locally, what's like legendary or important in your town, your community? Are there things that you can weave into like a video or a marketing message that hits on that people will want to share, relate to, comment on, because it makes them feel good and remember those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are all perfect tips about nostalgia. Again, video is just like, it's so captivating for people because they can see you, they can hear you. It's emotional. A lot of times videos draw emotion. I mean, think about how many times you cry during a Disney movie. I mean, I do. It pulls emotions out of people, and that's how consumers are making their buying decisions now, is through emotions, right? Does this feel good? Does it feel like I want to buy from this company? Do I like this person? Do I whatever? So anything you can do to create and better that know, like, and trust factor with your followers or customers or clients, the more sales you're going to make. That's just like point blank.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, the next one is going to be text marketing. And we kind of already touched on it a little bit, but I have been really jumping into text marketing probably the last 2-3 years, and have seen just in the clients that I have, specifically retail are the ones that I'm referring to here, how much having text marketing strategy really does work, and it gets people. It's almost like a hyper list. And what I mean by that is, like, we have an email list of customers we reach out to. Email is not dead. It's still a great way to reach your customer. But when we text that text list, it's almost like we know those are the people who want to receive text from us. They're likely to respond. We have this group of people that is super targeted and want that information from us. So for example, I already talked about retail. Some of the ways we implement the text marketing for them is like, let's say one of my customers is going to go Facebook Live shopping event. We will send out texts, promoting that, or the time of the event, special events, sales. We even have a strategy that's special for the people that are on our text list. And that was one of the trends they talked about. If you do have a text list, how do you make that list feel really special? And like they're getting a lot out of being here. They're getting treated better than almost anybody else because they're on that list. So I think when we think about our businesses, that is one really smart way we can use texting. And I have a couple opted in texts that I get from businesses, and I don't mind getting texts, even if they aren't relevant to me at the time, because I like not missing out. And I'm selective about whose text list I'm on, but I do like being communicated that way with the people that I do want to follow or kind of keep up with.
I have a team roping producer as a client who uses text marketing in their business. And so it's not something that I personally take care of. I actually do all of their website design and maintenance. But the way that their text club works is that after a team roper has bought a membership to their organization, they are opted into the text club, and they get text messages every weekend to be like, hey, we're headed to Gonzales, Texas to rope this weekend. Hope we're going to see you there. And the way that they make it feel really special, which I think is a little time consuming. And I don't think that for somebody with a massive amount of text, not saying that they don't, because I think they have a lot of text that they send out, but every text message is signed by Ben. Ben Clements is the owner of the organization. And so he just says like, hey man, it makes it super personal, right? So it feels like this text is just going to you like, hey man, we're headed to Gonzales this weekend. Hope we're going to see you there to rope. If you have any questions, let me know. And then signs it Ben. And there are people who have questions and text back. And Ben and his wife, Jody, are the people that text them because they're dealing with these questions. And it's something that is kind of personal. So it's something that they don't really have set up to be automated at this point. But they text him back and say like, yep, whatever. And the number it comes from is linked to Ben's personal phone number as well. So anytime that these guys have troubles, I mean, there's been times where somebody broke down on the side of the road, they hopped on their horse and rode 5 miles to the roping, and they called or texted and said like, hey, I'm on my way, but like we're booking it, trying to get there. So anytime that you can make it feel personal, the same thing with emails too, right? Because we're talking about a way of messaging that is very kind of like surface level. So it's easy to take that message and receive it differently than how it was intended. Mm-hmm. Anytime you can make those messages feel personal and you can nail that subject line or that first few words of a text message to make it feel like you are messaging that person and they would never know any different, that's when you've won the game.
Yeah, 100%. And there's different platforms you can use that, like you said, are personalized. You can text back. And then there's also just the more automated where it's just one-sided. But like you said, if you can afford the personalized one, I would definitely go that route. And like you said, make it seem like it's just getting sent to them. And sometimes in some of the platforms I've used before, you can just message personally to one person or a few people that your message applies to. So I think there's a lot that can be done and a lot that can be built out with a strategy for text marketing. Another thing I wanted to say here is, like I said, maybe you don't want to sign up for a platform. You don't have enough people right now to do that. But if you do have like a work phone or even your personal phone and you want to try this texting out, you can do that right through just a cell phone too, if it's easy to manage that way. And it's a good dip into seeing like, is this worth my time? Do my customers like this? And it's a little more personalized than just an email or something that could get lost, in the interwebs. Interweb, is that a word? Can't say that anymore.
Absolutely. I think the last thing that we wanted to just touch on today was maybe focusing on new platforms that you haven't been on already, or updating some of those platforms. I know one of the platforms we're going to talk about is LinkedIn. And while I have a LinkedIn account, I probably just need to go and update it because it's been a while since I've looked at it. So, Rach, what is your hot take on LinkedIn?
Yeah, exactly. Basically what you said. I think LinkedIn does work really well for a lot of people, but if it's not your main focus, I think if you are a business owner or big manager at a company, you don't have to be a big manager, just a manager. um, I think all the things that you're probably doing on your Facebook or your Instagram, whatever platform is your main focus, you could probably repurpose a lot of that content on your LinkedIn. And it just shows, hey, I am a professional in this space and I have knowledge. And it's sharing that with your network maybe could lead to referrals, but also just kind of lets you show up and show what you do. One example I have for this too is if we're thinking about LinkedIn, and maybe we do want to go after it a little bit because we want to go after business professionals. Those are your target audience. Again, I say retail examples a lot, but at one time, one of my customer or the clients I worked with, one of their like breakdowns of their boutique is workwear, dressing women to feel confident in their job. Maybe they're interviewing or things like that. Their messaging on their LinkedIn profile is probably going to be, we're going to talk more about workwear and how you can 3 ways to look put together during your work week, how to mix and match outfits so you don't feel like you're wearing the same thing every single time, how to walk into a meeting with confidence. Those are 3 examples that they would maybe post on a LinkedIn page. They could also post it on all their other platforms, but that content would be maybe a little more relevant for that audience. So along with what Brenna said, maybe thinking about how we can just update it and show what we're doing, but maybe also, is there a space that you can talk to other business owners there with some of the content you're already doing?
Yeah, I think a lot of times if you are a new professional and you've just started a new business and you want to reach out and be able to find clients, again, some of maybe that business to business type business models, LinkedIn is a good place to show up in and kind of figure out the platform and how it works. To me, for anybody who's not on LinkedIn, hasn't used it before, to me, LinkedIn is a little bit like Facebook. There's a wall where people can share their content and you can see what new people are doing, but it's mainly focused around work and professional life. So a lot of times I get notifications that so and so has spent 4 years at their company. Do you want to congratulate them? That kind of thing. So that's a little bit about what LinkedIn is.
Cool. Yes. What's the next one, Brenna?
The next one is Instagram, and Instagram is kind of my hangout of choice. Okay, here's the backstory. Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company, good old dear Mark Zuckerberg. So they work a lot of the same way in terms of wanting to advertise on the platform or kind of put your business out there. Instagram is very visually driven, which I think is why I like it better. So obviously your entire feed is just a bunch of little photos and somebody has to click on the photo to see the caption that you're writing about. But it also shows up in their normal feed, in their feed, it's called, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a different word, but so they can see your captions there as well if you're trying to educate people about different things. There's not like a rhyme or reason I said that I like Instagram so much better. I think just the visual driven content is I kind of connected with that really quickly early on. So I've just been an Instagram user for a long time. A lot of businesses are bridging that gap as we see the demographics kind of like change and evolve from Instagram to Facebook to Twitter to some of these other big name platforms. We're seeing more and more people, like Instagram started with very young users. Now we're kind of in that millennial space. So I feel like that's a millennial hangout, I would say. And we look at Facebook of being some of more of those boomers rather than the millennial age. And then TikTok is where we find a lot of Gen Z hanging out. So if you're trying to like demo your target audience, those are kind of some things to keep in mind. But other than that, it's just a good place to put your content out there. Really, if you have visual things, and me being a designer, that's why I choose to use it. And then hashtags. It's really important to use hashtags on Instagram and to explore other hashtags and see different categories that people are in. So that's a little bit about the platform and how I use it. As business owners, same thing. There's a lot of ways to go viral and to get new clients by using those hashtags. And what hashtags do are categorize content. So if a user wants to follow a hashtag and your content happens to show up there quite a bit, then they're probably going to follow you. And again, we're just creating this know, like, and trust factor so that people can get to know you, like you, and trust you. So then they want to become buyers.
Yep. A couple of the trends that during that Clubhouse chat that they were talking about, and I feel like this probably applies maybe more to people who are creative graphic designers like you, but I also think, you know, if there is space and capacity for another business to, you know, enlist someone to do this for them, I'm not saying it's gonna like do anything, but it's another way to get people to start using your things, your brand. Was they talked about making the little GIFs, you know, the branded GIFs and the that you can use in like stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like creating your own filter. So I've seen like some businesses, like, you know, influencers have their own filter, and I'm using it and it says their name at the top. And like, again, I don't know how relevant that is to everybody, but those were some things that people, they mentioned, like, you can do that on Instagram. Like, you can make your own type of things, upload it. So I thought that was interesting. And they also briefly touched on guides. I don't know if you have any insight on the guides part, Brenna, but I know it's newish. I don't know when that launched. And some people are like, we don't know if it works or if it doesn't. I do think if you have time to make something, it'd be smart to be there. I think if you're one of the faster people to implement and be someplace and have something there, you get more traction off of it. But I'm interested into what you have to say about that.
Yeah, a lot of people have some interesting insight on Instagram in general, because after Instagram was acquired by Facebook, this is my own opinion. Okay, after Instagram was acquired by Facebook, it kind of seems like Mark Zuckerberg was using that because of the demographic changes, right? So Facebook just became really like boomer, Gen X kind of like vibe, and then the millennials and Gen Z spend more time on Instagram. So with Instagram, a lot of people kind of equate those guides to Pinterest almost. So it's like a Pinterest board. So you can put other people's content in the guide that's listed on your page. Something that Instagram does really well is let you share other people's content really well. So that kind of like gets you seen by the users who created the content, and then also their followers. Now they're seeing you pop up there, so then they're going to hop over and follow you too. So the guides came out right around like November of 2020, because I was a few weeks into it. I created a guide for Small Business Saturday, and really kind of like created this thing. I was like, hey, these are my favorite small businesses and some of them that I'm supporting today. So here it is in a guide and why I like them. The feature itself, I think, is really cool if you can find a good way to use it. However, I feel like what happened was it was like, oh, there's this new feature on Instagram and it's here, but there's not really any metrics for it. There's not really any benefit to using it. You know, you're not getting seen by more people. You're not getting placed in a special category. Like, it's just kind of like a half-started feature of Instagram. Something that I've seen other people like equate all the Instagram features to is like the Instagram stories are like Snapchat. They're only available for 24 hours and then they go away. The Instagram guides are like Pinterest. We talked about that a little bit. The reels are like TikTok, right? So the reels came out after TikTok blew up and got big. Again, there's no analytics for Instagram reels. So if you post a reel and it's doing really well, there's no analytics to see why it's doing well to help you kind of like recreate that and draw in some more of those clients again. The only thing we do know about Instagram reels is that it is a beneficial part in the algorithm. The more you use all of the features of Instagram, the more it favors you and shows your content to more people. So there's a lot of ways to use Instagram and a lot of different things you can dabble in. You know, I touched on the hashtags a little bit, which are such a big part of the platform. So a lot of people are kind of feeling like Instagram's trying to keep up and keep users on the platform, and they're just kind of like cherry picking things from other platforms rather than letting it be a space where all of these platforms can work together, you know? So Instagram is kind of like a beast right now, and it feels like it's in that like angsty teenager stage where it's like, I want to be everybody, but I want to be my own person too. So it's a very interesting platform to be on right now.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, the last, well, thank you for sharing that. I think that probably makes a lot more sense to people now, and maybe where they're, like benefiting, thinking about putting their time too. So the final one was using your platform to share other people's content. They talked about that. How can we do that? So Brenna, take it away with some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit where it's like using other people's content there's like multiple benefits of it, right? Where if you share other people's content, and it's something you really relate with, then you're kind of doing them a favor by showcasing that, and some of your followers might jump over to them and kind of like share the love. But it also does something for you as well. Users who share your content most likely are returning the favor and then sharing yours. So it's kind of this like, you dip into their followers a little bit and their customers and kind of pull them over to your side. Not that you're like stealing customers at all, right? Because there's like, think about how many grocery stores you buy from, or different things. Like there's Walmart, there's like the hometown grocery store, and then maybe there's like Amazon. You're going to order something crazy from Amazon that doesn't get carried in your local Walmart or hometown grocery. So it's kind of like the same thing, right? Where like we can share customers or followers with other people, and they can afford to share their followers with us. The other thing that sharing content does is alleviate some of that pressure on you to create new content. Because if it's already out there and it's something that you really like connect with and value, and you can share that on your own Facebook page, or you can share it in your Instagram story, then it's like, okay, well then my like obligation to post for the day is kind of like checked off, and I didn't have to do anything but push a simple share button. So I wouldn't get too wild. Again, like it's my own opinion. I wouldn't get too wild on sharing people's content continuously. But I would, do the favor for other people, do the good thing, something you enjoy and connect with. It's checking your box to post something for the day and like stay relevant in people's feeds. And it's also kind of like sharing the love, and people are always going to return that favor to you and share some of your content someday. So I think it's a good marketing tactic.
Yep. One way that I look at it too is how can we, when we're thinking about like small town, rural areas, how can we incorporate like businesses that customers who might come to us would also go to for someone else? So for example, like if you're in the healthcare industry and you see people for one reason, what's another company that's within the same town that they could maybe go to? Is there a nutrition place or a gym? Is there a way or a chiropractor, different people we could incorporate into our own marketing? We're highlighting them, and our customers are also benefiting because they can see them and get additional help or get that high quality of life that they're looking to get when they come see you in the first place. So I think that's really smart marketing when we can partner with other people. And not only that, people get excited when you share about their business, or they love that business. Now they might, like you said, share the love, and hey, you're part of this industry community too. So I think doing that really brings people in. It brings us together. It creates that community feel. So if we can be intentional about thinking about not only sharing their information too, but also including them and, kind of telling again that narrative, and you're part of it as your business.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Do you have any final thoughts? We kind of made it through. Those were the big categories we found from the trend chat. And yeah, anything else?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think like we hit on a lot of stuff today. So as always, you don't have to implement every single one of these things into your business, but if there's something that you kind of relate with, or it's like, man, I've been thinking about showing up on Instagram a little bit more lately, or what is this TikTok thing all about? We're just kind of like here to encourage you to give it a try, and we see benefits in these platforms, and we see a lot of value in them. So we encourage you to maybe try them out.
Yes. Thanks for listening, guys. We hope you have a great day, and we can't wait to chat with you again.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Rural Rundown podcast.
Thanks for listening. You can always find us on social media at the Rural Rundown.
And if you really liked this episode, we would totally love it if you gave us a review and gave us a little rating.
It would mean so much to us. And for more small town roots and business savvy, catch us on the next one.